And we're back with the Berman Method podcast. I'm Jenni Berman, physician assistant, and I have a special guest here today. But first and foremost, we have to go through, we are here to treat problems and not just symptoms. And if you've listened to any of the podcasts prior, you know that Jake always says we are David going against Goliath, going against the corporate medical system, and really just helping clients and individuals to understand there is another way. And so certainly go back and listen to some of our prior podcasts. But with this special guest that I have today, we have a very special topic, especially for women, but really for anyone. I mean, it has to apply to everyone. So I am super excited to introduce Jessica Frederick.
Hi.
And I will actually let you give us your little bit of a bio rather than me. I think it's always more interesting than others. Otherwise, I'm just like rambling off of a piece of paper. But you have so much more to offer than a piece of paper. So tell us a little bit about your background.
So I am a licensed clinical social worker, which just means I'm a therapist. I'm also a yoga teacher, and I have certifications in somatic therapy, which is kind of my jam right now for how I approach therapy from this holistic lens.
Tell me a little bit more about somatic therapy, because you do have you're not just a therapist. We need to get out of that mindset. Speaking of what we're talking about today and talking to women and being, supportive of ourselves. I heard something this weekend, this is kind of off topic, but our business coach, actually, he goes, I will never tell my kids I'm proud of you. He said, I always tell them you should be proud of yourself because you have to be proud of yourself. And that means more than other people being proud of you. Like when people say they're proud of you, you're like, okay, whatever.
Exactly.
But when they're like, you need to be proud of yourself, you're like, yes, I should be proud of myself. So Jessica, you are more than just a therapist. So can you tell us a little bit more in terms of the somatic therapy, but also just what kind of route you take with helping others?
Yeah, I'll put this as basic as I can because sometimes it seems complex, but it's not. Most therapy is very focused on our thoughts, and they go from a very cognitive heavy approach. And a lot of people are okay with that. We are really comfortable assessing things in our brains and trying to make things make sense. And then what I started noticing was a huge disconnect from basically the neck down. So we're so busy in our heads that we're not connected with our body, and we're not really aware of the different sensations in our body, i.e. emotions, because they're just energy and motion in there. And so the somatic component brings in the body. And so instead of constantly telling my clients, please practice meditation, please go to a yoga class, please, do these grounding techniques outside of sessions, I now just bring it into the session for a little more accountability and to take maybe the discomfort away, because of course it's something new and sometimes people are very uncomfortable by that. And when we can do it in that setting, right, that safe container of a therapy session, it allows them to then go and do it themselves.
Right. And that is absolutely going to connect what we're talking about today, just connecting the functional medicine, what we do here at Berman Health Club on a daily basis with helping individuals with regulating cortisol, that stress response, which we know is one of the primary pillars to all of the issues that they're coming in with. I hate the word issues, but concerns they're coming in with between weight management or blood sugar instability, not being able to sleep through the night, inflammation and autoimmune disease.
Yes.
And we're really going to tie in how you also talk about the same things from a different perspective.
Yes. And I hear myself also gently guiding clients to a functional medicine, approach or referral to Jenni to get more information, because I can understand that it's all connected, and I can understand that it's adding to the severity of what they're feeling. But obviously that's not my lane. And so I very lovingly have you to refer people to, which is nice.
And same for us. You are our go-to person as well. And for anybody listening to this, our go-to person for the parts that we don't have the experience for, number one, within our practice. But secondly, because we are a functional medicine practice and we're looking more at the nutrition and the medicine, yes, we talk with our clients on a daily basis about their feelings and what they're going through, and, making that emotional connection to food or to the stress response that their body is going through. But having this outside person actually be able to do the therapeutic sessions and the somatic therapy is just such a game changer for clients, myself included. And my kids, we've all, and, Jake and I have definitely talked about on the podcast, like we've done counseling together since before we got married. And now we have our 6-year-old doing some counseling too. Like, I think it's just it's a life component that we need to be comfortable with doing, and it shouldn't be a hidden thing,
I often am telling clients too that to remind ourselves that we're emotional creatures, and somewhere along our education in this world, emotions 101 disappeared.
Sure.
And so that's what therapy's for, more than I have this issue or I have a mental health concern. Like, well, it's more emotional stuff going on that we just need some basic guidance with, and then here we are regulated.
Right. Absolutely. So what I want to talk about today, really, we're going to kind of shift this more to women, but men, please don't jump off of this podcast. In fact, maybe you should share it with someone, or listen to it, and maybe you can help the one person that's in your life that this could help even more. But really, we're going to be talking about high functioning women. That's really what we're directed to right now. Us included, right?
Yes.
You have 3 kids.
Yes.
Younger than mine. And I have 3 kids as well. We are both running businesses, and life is just in chaos all the time.
Yes.
But we're embracing the chaos, or we try to, and we often vent to each other like, okay, we need our little text therapy session right now about our chaotic morning. But let's talk about these women like us who always say, we're fine. It's all fine. I'm fine.
This kind of, I didn't want to harp on the should statement earlier, but this goes back to the should statement. The very first thing I tell clients is to stop shoulding on ourselves. And so when we take a glimpse at some of these narratives in our heads that lead to our just automatic response to people that I'm fine. And what's underneath that is a lot of behaviors and a lot of additional thought patterns that are actually trying to convince you that you're fine because you're checking all of the boxes on your to-do list, and because you did all of the things and ran all of the errands, but you didn't take a moment to ask yourself, how am I actually feeling? Where am I holding this stress? Have my shoulders been up in my ears all day? Has my job intense? Have I eaten? Am I thirsty? Like, when's the last time I had some water? Like, you're not doing any of those things. And then you get to the end of the day and don't understand why you're not so fulfilled by all the check boxes you completed.
Right. Yeah. Fulfilled, or feeling your best, or where's your energy? Why am I so run down and I'm so exhausted, but then I can't sleep at night?
Oh my gosh, yes. Because your body is resting, for all intents and purposes, it's laying down ideally, but your brain in that moment is like, oh, hey, oh, you're safe. I have your attention. I'm going to tell you about yourself.
Now is my time to communicate with you because you haven't had time for me all day. So yeah, these women who say they're feeling fine, but they don't. And we really want to get into the fact that on paper, life looks great.
Yeah.
But the underneath, like you were saying, is where we're missing that. We just keep compacting all of those internal dialogues and feelings and emotions that we have. And so tell me a little bit more. Let's talk about just between you and I, like maybe your side and my side, about what does it mean to feel off?
So for me, right, when people are coming into therapy, honestly, if they're saying I have anxiety, if they're saying I have depression, already I'm like, right, we're feeling off, we're disconnected. There's something going on in my mood that doesn't maybe add up to how I think I want to feel, or yes, the shoulds come in, right, how I should feel. They might have low frustration tolerance, i.e. they're irritable, they're agitated, they might be reactive. They might not, call it that, but they, getting snippy with their kids, losing patience with their, partner. Things of that nature is something that I think a lot of people too just think this is just our human experience. This is just normal, but they're really, huge red flags to me, like as the therapist when I'm hearing these things.
Okay. And from our side too, we communicate as very similar. People will come into us and saying, I'm irritable. I have no patience at all. And certainly we know that there's an underlying factor that not being able to sleep through the night, seeing weight gain, because we know that cortisol or that stress response is going to hold on to fat as well, having these energy crashes. And so of course, from the functional medicine standpoint, we're going to go down, okay, you have energy crash, you have brain fog, you're not sleeping at night, we're seeing weight gain, there's something metabolic going on, and we will go that direction. But we have to also target just the mental capacity and what's going on with the stress response from an emotional standpoint as well.
Absolutely. I typically am reminding clients, if there are these symptoms that we're now feeling, right, and we're actually paying attention, to our body, which is great. But if we start slapping on the Band-Aids and we don't get to what is going on, what are you feeling? Have you ever actually named your feeling? Talk to anyone about this emotion. Do you have the right tools to help yourself allow the emotion to just roll on out of you? Because that's what emotions want to do. Then the Band-Aids will work for a little while.
Momentarily. Exactly.
And then we're going to be right back to where we started, although now the wound is a little deeper.
Right. And that's just like, taking a weight loss medicine, right? How many people come in there, or, maybe not to you, but to us, say, I took this weight loss medicine and it was great. I lost the weight, but then I stopped it and it came right back. And the same thing with looking for this magic pill of taking L-theanine or taking progesterone. So many women are like, I just need hormones. So taking the progesterone, taking the L-theanine, taking magnesium, and it certainly is helpful when we're deficient, but we're not treating the problem here.
Yeah, we're not getting to the root. And typically with certain things that I see, it is the thought patterns, which of course is influencing people's behavior patterns. And so to get into, a little bit of taking the action outside of the sessions or, outside of your meetings with Jenni, there's homework, right? There's follow-up. There's things that need to be changed outside in your real life, obviously, that we can't just talk about in, our 50-minute session. And so if we aren't doing those things, then we're going to come right back to this.
Right. So let's talk about that, because there's homework in anything. And, we also, something I communicate about regularly is we all have to have a coach, whether the coach is in business or the coach is through nutrition or the coach is through therapy. But any athlete has homework. Any athlete practices 5, 6, 7 days a week, not just the one day a week that they're meeting with their coach or
or game day.
The game. Exactly. So let's get into maybe some of the treatment side. Like we recognize that as high functioning women, we're just like, okay, yep, we're going to be fine. We got all these things on our to-do list. We're checking off the boxes, but then we eventually start experiencing the fatigue, the crashes, not sleeping through the night, the irritability, reacting to our kids or to our spouse, or even at work, having short tempers there. So if we were to go through the actual functional changes and identifying the problem, we know that there's a stress axis dysfunction, HPA axis. That's your hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal. So it's coming from your brain and it's coming from the adrenal glands. So to your point of, we have these emotions that we're thinking about, but it's really involving the whole body. The adrenal glands, if you don't know, sit above the kidneys, which are in your trunk, right? So it connects the whole body. Yeah. So what process do we go through?
So this is why I integrate the somatic piece. So I do both top down, bottom up. So top down is we're going to, of course, need to figure out what's going on in your thought patterns. There are going to be cognitive approaches to that, cognitive reframing, basically rewiring your brain. And then I think simultaneously, we need to also do the bottom up approach, which is, are you actually aware of any sensations going on in your body? Are you aware of the tension? Do you actually feel something in you physically when you're telling me I feel, and then fill in the blank? Because often when people start a sentence with I feel, they actually then cite me a monologue of no emotion words. Right. And then if they actually give me an emotion word, I ask where they feel it. And most people can't identify that. And so that's then all in your brain.
Okay.
Which could be a false emotion, right? We can think ourselves right into feeling something for sure, but we want to get more to I don't want to say intuition, but what's more the genuine emotion that's going on in my body? And then can I learn to tend to that? And so these two tools are usually happening at the same time. And we need to get our body to a place of not fight or flight, not in the stress response, so that then we can actually talk to ourselves.
Sure.
Because when we're in that stress response, our prefrontal cortex shuts off. We're in our lizard brain. We're just trying to survive, regardless of how, minuscule the stressor is. If our body is reacting in that way, then, okay, we need those grounding techniques. Sorry, I know it sounds so simple, but take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, take a moment, pause. Don't allow your brain to just go onto autopilot where it's going to think whatever it's going to think and stress you out more. And then we can say hey, Jess, is that really that serious? Are you okay? You got this now? Hey, name that problem again. Oh, hey girl, you actually have a solution. You're good. Okay. Moving on.
Okay. I love this. I feel like this is my own therapy session right now as I'm regulating my emotions about my children. When I get home from work after a day of work, and I'm like, I put out fires all day long, and now I have my one crying because the other one took a baby.
I'm a heavy deep breather. And they know, hey, I'm also trying to teach them to do that, and I'm not going to tell my 2-year-old in the midst of the tantrum to take a deep breath because she's not able to understand what I'm saying. Neither are adults. But if I'm breathing, at some point she's going to start breathing. Right.
No, and that's absolutely true. And we have to think about these situations when we're going through a situation, we're like a toddler. You 100%. Don't hear anything when you're in that state of mind of the frustration or the irritability or the even anger. You're not going to hear anything around you. You're not going to be in a state to be able to make an immediate change. So that breathing has to be our own rescue. No one else is going to rescue us at that moment, that immediate
Absolutely.
moment. So tell us a little bit more. So we do the deep breathing is step number 1.
So once we get, basically, we'll speed it up, right? So once you get some body-based grounding techniques and you're able to bring yourself back to the present moment, because when you're starting to go into that stress response, you're not there, you're not really there, So you're back in the present moment. Then we go to the brain. Usually that automatic thought that might go to a worst case scenario thinking, or you should be doing this thinking, or whatever it might be, we've already interrupted it by taking that breath. So yay us if we're not even able to go back to the negative thought process. We dodged a bullet, right? Sometimes it's still there, right? It's still heavy. So then that's when we start talking to ourselves is this factual?
Right.
Do you have evidence to support this concern that's going on in your head?
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that.
Honestly, is this real? Or I tell my clients all the time, if you slow down some of the quote unquote anxiety in your head, they're usually questions and you usually have an answer, or you can sit for a second and brainstorm some solutions to it. But when we leave it in our head unchecked, it just spirals and it snowballs, right? And it's adding question after question after question. Of course, that's going to seem overwhelming.
Right. And then the negative self-talk comes directly next.
Yeah. Okay. You should have it all figured out.
Right.
You should know this.
Why am I in this situation? The why state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I got ahead of myself because I'm like, how can I fix myself? Right. I just wanted to jump to the solution and fixing myself.
But that is kind of it. I mean, honestly, and then it's the reminder that, I just practice. I have to do this. I have to do this all the time. And depending on the severity of your stress response, you may feel like you're doing this every 10 minutes, but I promise you, right? You're building a new muscle. So I promise you that in time, that's going to slow down.
Right. Yeah.
And something that actually I was thinking about talking to you right today, and this thought came to me. It's not that, how do I put this? It's not that every emotional response is some big to-do that we need to tend to.
Sure.
And in these practices, when you really start to check in, you'll learn that, I can actually be unbothered. I can still make a note of something like, you know what? I don't love that.
Right.
But I'm no longer having a physiological reaction that's leading to my stress response, right? That's leading to these automatic behaviors. I can just be here,
right,
observe what happened, make a note, and then keep it moving, which is the goal.
Right. And that's with most things in life, where we have to really focus on the effort initially when we're first learning something. Like, let's go again to a child learning how to ride a bike. She really has to focus on putting her hands on the handlebars and which direction the handlebars are going, and is she leaning her body, and are her feet pedaling fast enough to be
are they
able
on
to
the pedals,
balance?
right?
Like, it's all these things that we have to think about, and we have to be so focused on it just to get the bicycle to move. And it's also like that in my world with the dietary changes, and people have to be like, how much protein is in that, and how many carbs, and does it have enough fat, and am I drinking enough water, and am I eating frequently enough throughout the day? Like, initially there's so many things to think about. Same as you were just explaining. Initially, we might be taking 100 deep breaths a day when we're in this heightened state, but it's not always going to be like that, because we are going to get to that point of, most of us will get to that point of regulation. Now, with this, I said on my side, we can't just take L-theanine or take magnesium, or even go down the route of the progesterone, and our problems are going to be fixed. And I think it's the same with you and your clients, which is why you say you try to guide them politely to the functional medicine world, because in Western medicine, when people come in with irritability or anxiety or feeling that they're reacting or sad, the first thing the doctors will do is try to give them an SSRI, right? And they won't even go down the route of, is your magnesium low, or do you need progesterone?
Did you get some sunlight today?
Did you go out in the sun? Yeah, like, there's no questions about anything supplemental or functional. Or, even with my women who are dysregulated in the sense of stress response, they go to their GYN and tell them they're having dysfunctional bleeding, or they're having really bad cramps, or they're, what we call PMDD. So before their menstrual cycle, premenstrual dysfunction in their mood, right? They're feeling super anxious or stressed or sad or angry right before their cycle. And so they go to their GYN asking for help with regulating their cycle, and their answers are birth control or an SSRI, which is an antidepressant, right? So we know that neither one of us are in line with that, right?
Correct.
But coming back to me and you, is we can't just, from a functional standpoint, put them on the supplements and say you're fixed. From your standpoint, we can't just say breathe, right?
Right.
And so that's so important. What are some of, let's make the connection of this stress response that our body is going through, and the emotional attachment to what the rest of our body is experiencing, and this fight or flight response. Breathing does help to regulate that cortisol response, that fight or flight mechanism. Let's make the connection to the hormones and why some women are feeling this more at parts of their cycle than others, and let's connect it to the blood sugar, and really pulling in the entire area of me and you together.
I think for, like, the PMDD thing is such a good example. And so how, of course, not super medically, right, over here, I'll tell people, it's a good signal from your body. And the fact that you have the awareness of when your cycle is going to come, and, like, your body's talking to you. Like, we are nature and we are cyclical. So it's expected that you would recognize the pattern of, clients will come in and they'll be like, I don't want to blame my period, but I'm like, no, like, I want you to tell me that you're on your period. I want you to tell me that it was the week before your period and you knew that you were going to have low patience. And then these are all the sequence of events that happened. Because then I tell people, hey, you then have part of the answer already in front of you. So when you know that your period's coming, hey, guess what? Maybe your workouts need to look different that week. Maybe you need more check-ins with yourself, especially if, unfortunately, work is more stressful that week, or your kids are crazy that week, right? It's a full moon. Then oh my goodness, you know what? I need more check-ins with myself. I need more time to stop and breathe and decompress because of what's going on. It's not, I'm more emotional, so I just need to, like, deal with it. You wouldn't, go to your game with an injury and not plan for your injury.
Right.
Like you would wrap your injury more or whatever it might be, right? Like it's the same thing. Like you're going to be a little depleted to begin with.
Right.
So if I know that I'm not functioning at 100%, why wouldn't I do things to help me?
Right.
Instead of just thinking I just somehow have to wing this and make it work.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going into the game with you're coming off of a sprained ankle, we're not going to not wrap it, right? We're going to prepare for it. We're going to do extra therapy sessions to get ready for it. And we have to think about our cycle as the same way. Or just, it doesn't even have to be a cycle. If we know we're going to
something stressful,
going to see our parents for a week, and not my parents per se, and they're listening. Mine are awesome, but like for some people that is stressful. A big stress component of having to fly and go spend a week at their parents' house, and they don't eat well, or they don't exercise, or they're negative, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we just have to prepare for those situations and say, what can we do therapeutically that's going to be different?
And preparation is wildly different than I have increased anxiety. So again, okay, you know these things, right? Someone could present that same list to me in a very heightened, stressed out, overwhelmed way, instead of just like a list of things that I'm well aware are going to affect me or could potentially affect me.
Right.
And so that in and of itself is already kind of like part of the practice, right? Okay, so thanks, Jenny. You presented me, a good list of things that could potentially hold you back on your progress. So now let's plan.
Right.
Let's make a plan of attack. Okay, so I'm going into an environment where they might not have all my food choices. Okay, I'm going grocery shopping. Like I'm going into an environment where they don't prioritize movement. Hey, guess what? Like I'm on my schedule.
Right.
Like I have my schedule. I'm still waking up. I'm still going to do my thing. Like it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Instead of using those things as a reason to fall off track.
Exactly. Excuses.
Excuses,
right? We use that word lightly and meaningfully, but
lovingly.
Not to be negative, but they are at the end of the day. If you're recognizing that these are the things you're going to be experiencing, so what can we do to change it? Rather than using them as an excuse to slide backwards mentally, physically, and emotionally.
And not to get too emotional, but at the end of the day, this is pretty foundational in my work, is it comes down to your relationship with yourself, because those excuses are self-sabotage. So 100%. If you are loving yourself and you're compassionate towards yourself and you want to take care of yourself, that doing these things, prioritizing your schedule is you taking care of yourself. Like it's nothing crazier than that.
Right. And I think it has to come back to that initial statement that I made of we have to be proud of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we have to create that relationship of I am going to take care of me. It doesn't have to be physically. It doesn't have to be with the food, but emotionally, I'm going to take care of me so I can be proud of myself.
Exactly.
And when we start to slide backwards or fall off track, right? The quote unquote off track, then we're doing things that we don't feel good about ourselves.
Exactly.
And that's just the downward spiral to...
Because then you go in your brain and then you're beating yourself up for doing it. And then we just continue and continue and continue.
Which is also creating a physiological inflammatory response, right? A stress response on the body inside, more inflammation, more oxidative stress, which is our negative stress, more of that cortisol response for fight or flight. And again, the cortisol talks back to the brain. Yeah. And it's just this vicious cycle.
It's a terrible loop.
So this has just been so great. We are going to continue this conversation. We're going to wrap up for today, but I think I feel like we didn't even get even a dabble of what we actually wanted to talk about, and it's just been such a great conversation. So Jessica Frederick here, she is a licensed
clinical
social worker therapy. I'm always going to just jumble my words over that. Sorry. She's an amazing emotional connection therapy yoga teacher, really connected to the functional medicine world. How can our listeners reach you?
On my website is lotuslivingfl.com because I am licensed in Ohio, Utah, and Florida. So I can see therapy clients in those states. And so you can reach out to me via email, jessica@lotuslivingflorida.com.
Perfect. Lotus, Lotus, living, livingfl.
Yes.
For both of those. We will link it in our show notes so everybody has that too, to be able to reach out to Jessica. But she does a lot of virtual
Yeah.
So mostly virtual.
Only virtual,
Only
usually with
virtual.
baby strapped to me. So
Yes. And so many of our clients all around Florida can see her. And as she mentioned, also in Ohio and Utah. So we are going to continue this conversation. Please come back next week so that you can learn more from Jessica. And thank you so much for being with us today. And as far as the Berman Method podcast, thank you for listening. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Share this episode with anyone, but especially your very busy women friends.
yes.
Ciao for now.